Life's precious. I think we would all agree. But often we find that we take the very things that we do every day in life for granted until something happens in a blink of an eye. Hello, I'm Tom Russo, and this is In a Blink of an Eye, where we discuss stories from ordinary people whose lives are changed in an instant and how they overcame through faith, courage, and determination. Join me on this podcast for uplifting stories of how people face various challenges and learn not only to survive, but to thrive. Now, In a Blink of an Eye is sponsored by TradingCardsMarketplace.com. Discover, connect, collect. That's TradingCardsMarketplace.com. And let me tell you, folks, I am so happy and proud to present my guest today. I want to make sure I get this right. Julie Gilmer Leahy.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us, Julie. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you for inviting me.
So, in full transparency to the audience, Julie and I went to the same high school. She's 1 year, graduated 1 year after me. Now, I think we're the same age, which is why I think we know each other well. I got put up a grade way back in elementary school. So I was always the youngest in my class. I should have been in your class, I think. So I don't know if that was a smart thing or not, but that's what happened in my life. But I knew a lot of people in our high school and was certainly proud to know Julie then. But Julie, what I usually do with my guests is I try to let them have the floor and tell us a little bit about where you grew up, your family, all that good stuff, where you went to school. I'm going to
Okay.
pass it over to you.
Okay. Well, I feel extremely blessed to have grown up in the neighborhood of Nassau Bay, across the street from where the Johnson Space Center was. And I felt like we had just a fairy tale childhood. We just had lovely neighbors and friends and lots of kids that went to Creek, and a lot of us from pre-kindergarten all the way through high school. And I'm still friends with some of those kids from pre-kindergarten, which is amazing for me to say at my age.
I think it's so wonderful. It
Me
really
too.
is.
Me too. Friendships make the world go round, don't they?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah. So, our folks had moved from Louisiana, um, and I grew up there, uh, went to Clear Creek with you, obviously, and, really enjoyed it. I had a great childhood.
That's fantastic. Now, as far as education past high school, did you attend college or did you go
I
right into
went
the
to
work?
ACC, Alvin
Okay.
Community, for a while,
Okay. Great.
and I went through the law enforcement academy, actually, and graduated and tried to get on with the
Congrats.
police
That's
department.
tough. Woo. Don't mess with Julie. Awesome. I love it.
That didn't pan out for me, but that's okay. I worked, gosh, in so many different fields. I've done a little bit of everything. I did some security work. I've done admin work. I worked with a after school daycare, not daycare, but an after school activity program that went around to different daycares, and we did entertainment with the kids. It was a great group of people and ladies, and so I've always loved kids and interacting with them.
And speaking of kids, I know you have a couple that you're pretty proud of.
I do. I have two. My older daughter is at U of H, and my younger one is at Elon University. And they are both, yes, they make me extremely proud and happy because they have overcome a lot.
Well, that's really fantastic. And I love hearing about everybody's families when we talk on these programs because you know, family is the fabric of everything. And then outside of that, you've got your friends because your
Yes,
friends make up that. And we talked off camera a little bit
yes,
about our situations being kind of unique with no aunts and uncles or first cousins. We both
right.
share that.
Yes,
So it's kind of unique from an extended family standpoint.
right, right.
Um, but let's jump into a couple of things that you and I talked about that kind of, I guess, I use the word defined you as the
Yeah,
woman that you are today and along the way. You know, you actually had three kind of life defining moments, if you will.
Yeah.
I wanna take you back to, I guess it was, October of '84.
Yeah.
And there was a death that happened of someone that was really close to you
Yeah.
that was kinda surprising.
Yeah. We had a extra family member that went to college with my oldest sister, and he would spend the summers with us because his family was in Europe. His dad was in the army, and they traveled a lot. And my mom would call Todd our summer son because he'd come and spend the summers and was literally like one of the family and spent time with us off and on all the time. We considered him a family member, and he passed away very tragically in October with a drunk driver going the wrong way down I-35 in Austin, and he was killed very suddenly, and it was, very impactful. Um, and a few months after that, in January of the following year, our middle brother, was also died. He had an aneurysm. And so I feel like having, deaths around you at such a young age. All of my grandparents were gone by the time I was in 3rd grade, so I didn't really lose grandparents, in the interim. It was very young, and then at a very vulnerable age, I guess.
Well, yeah, you're
Um,
you're at such a vulnerable age in high
yeah,
school. I mean, you were talking like you were a sophomore, junior, when those things happened, and
yeah,
so that's very hard to
yeah,
to handle,
yeah,
especially I'm both of them. I mean, they both sounded like incredible people. I mean, you actually had 4 brothers and sisters, right? There were 5
yes,
of
yes,
you?
yes.
Wow,
I'm the
wow.
youngest of 5 growing up.
And they all went to Creek.
Yeah,
They all went to
yeah.
Clear
So
Creek.
all the
Yeah,
teachers would be like, "Are you another one of those Gilmers?" And I'm like, "Yes, I am. How
that's
many more
funny.
are there?"
Um, well, so that's very tragic. How
Yeah.
let me ask you, and it's hard maybe to go back in that time when you're 14, 15 years old, somewhere in that range, I guess. How does a young lady at that age handle something like that? I mean,
Yeah,
that's tragic.
it was really, really hard, to be honest with you. I was a junior at the time my brother passed, and, um, uh, I think it just redefines who you are. It was going from being just happy-go-lucky and loving my friends and loving life to losing Todd, and our brother Kenny literally was like, "Oh my god, this is way too close to home. I wanna start spending a lot more time with you guys," because he also lived in Austin, and, he had just gotten married in August of that year. So he had been married for about 6 months and then died in January. He had a aortic aneurysm. So basically the
So
valve
that
that
was pretty quick, I'm sure,
both of them
the
were
death
very
was.
quick, and I've also lived through my mom dying of Alzheimer's, and I will tell you that the quick deaths affect you a lot harder than watching somebody decline and
That's
age
an
and
interesting rabbit hole to go
really
down.
hard.
I've seen my grandparents go through the Alzheimer's things myself, and that was almost more painful, you know? I mean, I remember having conversations with my grandmother late in her life where
Yeah.
she thought I was her dad,
Yeah.
and she was
That's definitely
asking
hard.
if it was she was asking if it was okay if she could go out with her boyfriend that night, which was my grandfather,
Yeah.
who's already passed away,
Yeah.
and and the only way you could even have a conversation with her was to act that role out. I mean,
Exactly.
because it would just make them mad or angry, and it was very difficult,
Yes.
on me,
Yes.
in particular, and I can only imagine you going through that.
Yeah.
But these sudden losses
Yeah.
are just so bam, and it
Yeah.
and it shakes you to your foundation.
It does.
It
It
really
does.
shakes you to your foundation.
It
Now,
does.
I know now you're a pretty spiritual woman and a pretty faithful woman.
Yes.
Were you at that time in your life?
You know, I actually was very angry with God. I was really, really angry because I felt like I was just at the age where I was old enough to spend more time with my brother because he lived in Austin. I
Right.
was 10 years younger. So I was 16, he was 26, and I was just learning to drive. And I remember going up the spring break prior to him passing away and spending time with him. And I was like, yes, this is great. I can finally start spending more time with
This is
my big
cool.
brothers.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was very angry for a
So
while. And I think,
how did teenage Julie channel that anger with God? Because I think all of us at some point in our life has been angry with God.
yeah,
If you're honest with yourself,
yeah,
I think I know I was when my eye thing happened at first, and with deaths have
yeah,
happened in my family likewise.
yeah.
So how do you handle and channel that anger?
I I hate to tell you, Tom, I've probably blocked out a lot of those memories. Um, I I was angry, and I just spent as much time with friends as I could to try
So you
and
kinda
mask it.
shelved it. You kinda
I tried to
just
mask
put
it.
it on the shelf and was
Yeah.
like, I don't wanna deal with this.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
angry at God because this happened,
Yeah.
and I understand that.
Yeah, yeah, it's
So
like, how could you take him from me? And I remember a family friend coming over, people bring you food, and she was like, "Oh, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be," and I'm like, "No, it's not gonna be okay. I just lost my big brother who I adored and loved, and I felt like he and I were kind of the two black sheep of the family because my other brothers and sisters, I mean, y'all know Dorothy, she was ace, all-star, everything, and my sister Liz and Bill, you know, cum laude, Lottie's, and here I was just barely on the short bus, you know?
oh,
So
now you're selling yourself short because I know you're a very
well,
intelligent woman,
it
but
it it was
but
hard. They were big shoes to try and
I
follow.
understand what you're saying. I understand that familial pressure. I didn't have it myself, but competing with others that are in your family that
Yes.
I know my son and my daughter did that a lot,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I certainly know what you're talking about.
Yes.
Um, that at what point in your life do you think that anger switched to something more real where you kind of said, "You know what, God, I'm done being angry. I'm
Yeah.
ready
Yeah.
to to put my faith back in you."
That's a
And that's a
good
hard question,
that is a
maybe you're
good
not there
question.
yet. I don't know, but that's
Yeah, I don't think there was any specific time that I can recall or any specific reason that I stopped being angry. I guess I just started being thankful that at least I did have a brother. That was so wonderful. Um, I had a very dear friend that taught me a really neat trick. When you get depressed and aggravated and upset, you have to start counting your blessings, and that
very
really
good.
turns things around.
It's kinda
Now
like
that
counting sheep, only count your blessings, and that's
yes.
very true.
Yes, and
That's
that was
great
several
sage
years later.
advice.
That was more through the time where my mom was dying of Alzheimer's, and I was getting married, to my ex-husband, and I was going through a bit of a depression, and she was very, very worried about me. I wasn't sleeping well because my, uh, husband at the time had sleep apnea, and so I wasn't sleeping well. I had just gotten 3 promotions within 1 year, and the boss that I was working for was a really difficult person. He was a great, nice person as a friend, but once you started working for him, he was very demeaning and, uh, hot-headed, and you'd kinda go into a meeting with him, and when you came out, people would say, "Oh my gosh, did he make you cry? Are you okay? Do you wanna talk about this?" And it was it just it that kinda shook me to the core too, because I knew this guy from an outside perspective, and he was wonderful, but everybody that worked for him couldn't stand him, and I thought, "Oh, well, we're friends, he'll treat me differently." No. Anyway, that's where I learned to start counting my blessings because I was going through a bad depression, and I finally reached out and got help. I got on some antidepressants, and I'm not afraid to say I've done that off and on several years through my life, and I've gone through counseling several times in my
Well,
life.
and there's nothing to be ashamed
Right.
about that, because to me, that's you reaching out to try to
Yes.
better your situation.
Yes.
You know,
And
I'm proud of you.
that's why I'm not afraid to talk about it, because I feel like if my story can help others, that's
And
the
thank you
bonus.
for that, because that's the whole purpose of
Exactly.
what I do is
Yeah.
I want to share people's stories, because quite honestly, I think every person in the world has had a blink of an eye moment, if
I
not.
bet you're right.
And we all have to find ways to cope and to deal with them.
Yeah.
And so anything that we can do to share
Yes.
and get the message out that it's okay,
Yes.
and it's gonna be okay, but like you said, it's not.
Yeah.
They say time heals all wounds, and I I don't know that that's true, but I do know that time lessens the pain.
Yes.
I
That's
think
exactly what I tell people too, Tom.
yeah.
It'll ease
I think
the pain.
yeah. I think it eases the pain.
Yeah.
I remember when my dad's brother died in 1970. I was 3 years old, and I can remember that like it was yesterday, and
Yeah.
he was 13 years old. He was a bright, vibrant kid, and then just had life sucked out from him.
Yeah.
And that's awful, and it's an awful memory for me, but I try to remember the few limited memories that I have, because I was young,
Yeah.
and know that he's in heaven looking down on and helping us,
Yes.
and I
Exactly.
think that's where how I cope with it.
Uh-huh.
But we all have different coping mechanisms,
Yes.
you know, and you mentioned something else that's kinda your 3rd blink moment that I kinda wanna jump into.
Mhm.
No, it's a painful time period for you. But you got married, and you told me off camera that after about 2 years of that marriage, while you did get 2 wonderful children out of it,
Yeah.
it was tough on you.
It was
There
very
there was
tough.
there were some issues.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of those issues that
Yeah.
made it so hard for you.
It was, it was very interesting because I knew him through a very close friend, and we had known each other for several years off and on, and then lost track of each other, and met each other again later in life. And he had graduated college and was in this great job and great career. And I thought, oh, well, maybe he just needed to get through college to really bloom into this fun, happy go lucky person. Because when I knew him in years prior, he just seemed a little bit awkward and just not really my type of person. And so, here I run into him years later and I'm thinking, wow. And he's like, oh my gosh, what have you been doing? We need to hang out. We need to do stuff together. I've got a boat. I take the boat out all the time and we go to New Orleans and have a great time. You should come visit. And so we started dating and I was like, well, this is great. Wow. This is somebody I know. I can trust because I've known him for years and years. And his family was nice and sweet, and I think of some red flags that I look back on, because it turns out when I say after 2 years, I literally was like, "Where's my happily ever after?" My sisters, when I told them that I was thinking about getting divorced after 2 years, they were like, "What are you talking about? You have the best marriage. Y'all just bought that big, beautiful house." And I said, "Y'all don't live with him." But I felt like 2 years was too soon to throw in the towel. I didn't wanna be one of those that would get married and then get divorced right away. And so I prayed a lot and I talked with friends and counselors and um, just kind of decided I didn't want to throw in the towel. I really wanted to make it work. So I
You
did.
hung on for another 8 years, right?
Absolutely. Yes, it did. It did because I knew I wanted kids also. And so I had my first child about 3 years into the marriage, and I got to be a stay-at-home mom, which I absolutely adored, and I knew I didn't want her to be an only child. Um, but after I had Samantha and I saw that he was really treating the girls the same way that he was treating me, I knew that I
Even at a
wanted
young
better.
age? Even at a young age?
Samantha was still in diapers.
And
So
and and
here
he
I
was
was,
treating
40.
her poorly as well?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I
I'm so
mean,
sorry.
I was 40 with one still in diapers, and most of my friends, their kids were already in college by that time, you know? So it was very interesting, but yes, the older daughter, so an example would be he comes home from work and wants to sit down and watch TV, okay? And the 4-year-old, of course, wants daddy time, and wants to interact and get his love and attention like every child wants from their parents. And he would sit down with the remote control and she'd be trying to do gymnastics or, love on him or whatever. And would you get out of my way? I'm tired. I just want to relax. I'm like, honey, she just wants your attention. She wants some affection from you. And that's kind of how it was with me. I wasn't good enough. I wasn't smart enough. I didn't do much of anything well enough. And when I say some of the red flags, a good example, one of our friends came over and was selling some of the term life insurance. You remember when that got real popular? And so he's practicing his sales on us, and he looks at Mike and he's like, "So, what would you do if Julie passed away? I mean, you'd have all these things to take care of." And he literally laughs and says, "I guess I'd just have to hire a maid." You know, that
That's
that
it.
doesn't feel so good.
No, that doesn't give you the warm and fuzzies from your one and only happily ever after person, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Just,
That's
I
difficult. That really is difficult. And as bad as it was for you as an adult, it had to double and triply hurt because it was going to the kids as well.
yeah. Yeah.
I mean, as a parent, I think again, I'm speaking for you, but I feel like that hurts even more.
Yeah.
As an adult, like I said, you hung on for 8 years
Yes.
after you had kind of determined this wasn't the right thing,
Right.
but
Yeah.
that was all they knew.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember my older daughter at about 7 years old coming up to me and just saying, Mommy, you're so sweet and you're so much fun and you have so many friends and you're pretty and you're just, why did you pick daddy to be our daddy? And it just made me want to cry, Tom.
That I'm sure.
I mean,
I can't imagine that's heartbreaking to hear. That
yeah,
makes me sad
yeah,
hearing that for you.
yeah,
So so you
yeah.
get divorced from him,
Yeah, so we get divorced. Literally, because I wanted my girls to have a
and your
better.
kids were still
Yeah,
fairly young, 7, 4, something like that?
yeah, yeah, um, Sammy was 2, Bree was 6,
Okay, so
so
I
they're
was
4
close.
years
My
apart.
math was bad.
Yeah. No,
I
no, no,
tried
it's
to count
okay.
on my fingers here. I didn't
It's okay, it's okay. Yeah, they were still quite young, but I knew I did not want them to have that as the long-term example as to what a good relationship should look like or feel like or what they should aspire to grow up and marry, you
Now,
know?
I know you said you went through some counseling, went through some medications, and
Mhm.
did some things. Uh, did did at this point in time were you angry with God again because this situation had happened,
Yes.
or had you kind of I don't want to use the word matured, but grown in your faith or your
Yeah,
spirituality at
yeah.
that point to where you could rely on it a little bit better?
Yes, definitely, because I knew I had tried everything in my power to make the marriage better, and I as he says it, I drug him around to all these counselors trying to fix everything, and he was busy throwing me under the bus and not being accountable for anything um, that was brought up because that's kind of what narcissists do. They'll deflect, defend, deny, and lie. They don't know how to have compassion. They don't take accountability for anything. And that's what makes it really hard. And I'd go to the counselor and say, I feel like anytime I ask a question to him, a direct question, he responds with a question or a dig at me instead of just answering a simple question. And It
And that's difficult to do and
Yeah,
almost impossible to parent with.
yeah,
I mean, that I can't even imagine that.
yeah.
So
I'm
so doing that
uh-huh.
and going through that,
Mhm.
did did, and again, if I'm getting too personal, just we can move on, but is it did do your kids still have a relationship of some sort with them, or
They do, and I worked very hard to never talk negatively about their
that's
dad
good.
because I
That's good.
knew they would figure it out on their own, which they have. And my oldest daughter has been, I'm so proud of her because she's worked really, really hard and has been in counseling for about a year and a half solid right now because she does have a lot of emotional turmoil that she's trying to fix. And she has come leaps and bounds. And my younger daughter, interestingly enough, really has just a much stronger personality, where Brianna is much more like me, and she wears her heart on her sleeve and is very touchy-feely and emotional about things. Sammy is very much more, emotional, or Sammy's much stronger. Yeah. So they're
Well,
doing much better, but one of the times I took them to one of the counselors, literally, the counselor says to me, "You 2 better figure this out because the odds are you're gonna end up marrying somebody just like this person." I was like, "Oh, no.
oh,
I'll be damned if
please
I'm gonna
please
marry
let's
somebody."
stop that. Yes, let's not let that happen.
I was like,
Oh
"Nope,
my
that's not
god.
happening."
Well, I know that was a trying time for you,
Uh,
and you basically were a single parent for, I think you told me, like, 15 years?
yeah.
So you kinda, I don't know if you shut off the dating world, but you kinda were solo flying, trying to find work, trying to take
Yes.
care of the kids, trying to do all of the things that
Yes.
a mom does for her children
Yeah.
in their formative years.
Yeah, and the thing that really kinda sucked is I didn't get a full 4-year degree, so my pay ratio was much lower than most of the friends of my age group, but I did date for a while, about 2 years after the divorce, and that didn't work out, and when I saw how much it hurt my girls after we broke up, I decided I didn't wanna do that anymore. I didn't want them to see a revolving door of people coming and going, so I did. I stepped out of the dating world for a very long time, and I was single for 15 years, and, it was challenging, but for me, it was much better for them to see that I could be strong and single and enjoy life without somebody in it, as opposed to putting up with somebody that wasn't valuing me.
Which I think is the valuable lesson that we're really kinda learning
Yeah,
today,
yeah,
is, you've got to be true to yourself. Yes, you have to take care of your family, you've got to take but you have to take care of yourself,
yeah.
and I think you're a living embodiment of that, and I kudos to you for that.
You're
I
so
think
sweet, Tom.
that's a beautifully strong, powerful woman that you've become because of these things that have molded you, starting with the unfortunate, passing away of the two men that were very important in your life,
Yeah,
and leading to this marriage that was almost doomed from the start. It
yeah.
sounds like,
It was
um,
a bait and switch, which
and that's that.
horrible.
Unfortunately, we see that
Yeah.
a lot in
Yes.
marriages, and I think that's why the divorce rates are so high in
Yes.
this country.
Yes.
It's insane, and it makes me very grateful for what I have in my life because
Yeah.
I'm married to my best friend, and I'm so grateful. Cindy, if you're listening, I love you. Thank you. So it's so awesome
Yeah.
that you do that, and I know the silver lining for you is that about 3 years ago,
Yeah.
you did meet a man that
Well,
meets
we
your
we met almost 9 years ago.
okay,
We've been married, for
3
3
years.
years, but
Okay.
that is a big part of where my faith has held very strong because I did, it was interesting, Tom. I wasn't really interested in going back out and dating. My girls were the ones that said, "Mom, we're getting older. We don't want you to sit around and grow old by yourself. We can go out with our friends. You should get out and start dating again. And that was literally what kind of pushed me to start doing it again. And I
Very
just,
mature of them, by the way.
I thought so
That's
too.
fantastic. That's
I thought so
fantastic.
too. I thought so too. And when I started dating again, I just took all the lessons that I had learned, what I would and wouldn't put up with, who, I mean, there's always those bottom boundaries, right? Of what you're going to deal with, what you're not going to deal with, but there's always compromises too. I mean, sure, I used to love going out country western dancing, and this guy's from Chicago, so I knew there was going to be no more of that.
Maybe a little bit of rock and roll there. I
Right.
don't know.
But you just gotta figure out what you will and won't put up with, and I prayed a whole lot, Tom. I prayed and I said, "God, I really want an opportunity with another really good man." And I wanted somebody that would be a great role model for my girls so that they could see what a good relationship is like and feel what it's like for their mom to be happy
Valued.
with somebody. Hmm?
Feel valued. Feel
Yes. Yeah,
valued. I
absolutely.
I sensed that from your whole talk is
Yeah.
that you really wanted someone to value you.
Yes. Yes.
And we all want that in
Yeah.
life, and you deserve that in life.
I agree.
And I'm so glad to hear that you talk about the power of prayer because
Yes.
to me, I always think about that Garth Brooks song, "Thank God for Unanswered Prayers," because
Yeah.
sometimes we pray for things and we don't even know what we're praying for.
Right. Right. Right.
I know when I had my problem with my eye when it first happened, I was like, "Please, God, fix this and make it right." And for whatever reason, God wants me with one eye. I don't know why,
Mm,
and I may never know why until I get to heaven. And but I've come to grips with that.
yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. I don't want to spend my life unhappy and miserable
Right.
about that. I don't want that to be my legacy from this
Right.
point.
Right.
I've got
Right.
so much more to give,
Yes.
and I think we all do, and I love hearing that you're praying because I think God answers them. He just doesn't answer them in the time that we necessarily
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
humans want.
Yeah.
And,
I used to always say, I know God has a plan. I just want to know what it is so that
yes,
I'll be ready for it. But it doesn't work that way.
it doesn't work that way. You're exactly right. It doesn't work that
It
way.
doesn't. But I
But
know this was part of
it
God's
does
plan.
work.
Yeah.
That's the
Yes.
key.
Yeah.
It does work.
Yes.
And I'm so happy and grateful that you have found a wonderful man. There are great men and women in this world. They're
Yes.
everywhere.
Yeah.
One of the things that I love to talk about is there is so much good and beauty in this world. We
Yeah.
just have to sometimes stop and turn off all the negativity
Yes.
because you and I talked about it this. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
it's a wonderful thing, but it's not a wonderful thing
Yeah.
because you can take news and it would just get you so depressed if all you did was watch this 24-hour news
Yeah.
cycle all the
Yes.
time,
Yes.
murders and coups
Yes.
and all this other
Yes.
bad stuff going on in the world,
Yeah.
and it's so easy to get down.
Yeah.
But yet, when you just sit back and, like you so simply said, count your blessings. When
Mhm.
you count your blessings,
Yeah.
there's a lot more of them than there
Yes.
are the negatives.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
concentrate on those
Mhm.
and pray for bettering and be the person, be the change in the world that you want to be.
Yeah.
Well, reach out, help people,
I
be
agree.
kind. And I applaud you for doing all of those things. You are a super sweet soul, and I am so glad that we got this time to talk today.
Thank you.
I always try to be cognizant of our time, and if you can believe it, we've already gone over our 30 minutes. We're at 35 minutes. Time flies when you're having a great conversation, and
Yes.
this has been a marvelous conversation. So hang on with me here.
Okay.
I'm going to kind of wrap it up, and then we'll finish up here.
Thank
So
you.
let me get to where I need to go here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, I am so happy about this. I really am. This was a wonderful thing.
Thank you,
And if
Tom.
you like hearing uplifting stories of overcoming challenges in life, please click that like and subscribe button right down there. I know you see it. I need you to do that for me. That really helps spread the word. And that's the whole purpose. I'm doing all of this organically. I'm doing it person by person, growing person by person. And I want to get those likes and subscriptions up because that helps get the word out to everyone. And perhaps you have a story of your own to share, an accident, a sudden loss, PTSD, alcohol, drug abuse, a natural disaster, illnesses, and you would like to share that journey of overcoming with everyone. Please contact me at the email shown below for consideration for a future podcast interview. I rely on viewers like you to share their stories. Thanks again to tradingcardsmarketplace.com for their continued sponsorship to bring these great stories to all of us. Tradingcardsmarketplace.com. Discover, connect, collect. Awaken the collector in you. But I definitely want to thank everyone out there, especially my family, our military, veterans, and first responders who put their lives on the line every day. We certainly can't forget our teachers and medical professionals who all make the world better, one person at a time. But most of all, thank God for all the blessings in our world. We really just need to make sure we concentrate on them every single day. Until then, my friends, carpe diem, seize the day.